Hello, my name is Ben Segee. I'm a graduate of the University of Maine Marine Science program. I'm a huge lover of marine science. My undergraduate helped me learn a lot about our world, enabled me to do some very cool things, and meet some very interesting people. However, with each scientific paper I read, I always had one prevailing question that I never found a satisfactory answer to. That question? Why does this have to be so complicated? Learning to read scientific papers was like learning a new and particularly frustrating language. All too often, I would ask this question when reading a particularly verbose paragraph that could accurately be summed up in one or two sentences. The fact of the matter is, scientists are extremely good at discovering the inner workings of the world. However, this does not always make them the best teachers or communicators. While it is unreasonable to expect them to be good at both, the problem stemming from our world's lack of science educators is quite apparent. For example, climate change is a huge problem, but many people question its severity or whether it even exists at all. This is not because people are stupid, but because they have a different perspective of the world. They haven't seen the data, nor have they seen the physics and chemistry leading to these conclusions. But they do know that it snowed last week. They are by no means incapable of understanding science, they just do not speak the language of scientists, and as a result are ostracized from their information. Thus, they draw the best and most logical conclusions they can with the data they have. After I graduated, I decided that this disconnect with scientists was a problem that I wanted to fix, so I took a leadership position as an educator at an aquarium. As it turns out, my aptitude at scholarship equipped me well to be a teacher, and I was quickly moved up through the ranks, eventually obtaining a leadership position where I was in charge of training new hires in the best ways to educate our guests. The more time I spent, the more confident I became in my original conclusion, that people are smart and logical, and overall just need a good teacher. Much as I enjoyed this position, I felt like I had the skills and the drive to accomplish more and educate a wider audience. I wanted to innovate. I wanted to develop new techniques and mediums to educate with. Through my research, I discovered many creative people exploring many unique ways of educating, but there was one form of medium that I found woefully underrepresented, despite it being one of the fastest growing pastimes in the country. That medium? Video games. Video games are a comparatively young medium, and as such often have their significance as a medium overlooked, being dismissed as a mindless source of time-wasting entertainment. And while I won't deny that's true for many games, to dismiss the media outright is just closed-minded. Similar claims were once made for television, but I think there are few who will argue against the good provided by documentaries and educational programming. Personally, my childhood development was heavily influenced by the likes of Bill Nye the Science Guy and the Magic School Bus, and I will happily admit that they played no small role in encouraging me to pursue a career in science. While educational games have been made in the past, many of them have failed to reach a widespread audience. The reason is their reliance on traditional classroom teaching methods. This method, often nicknamed the chocolate-covered broccoli method, can provide useful study tools, but fails to utilize the most powerful advantage that games have. Games are all about teaching through experimentation and encouragement through entertainment. Moreover, this is done not because of any academic requirement for the player, but because the player enjoys it. With the right design, instead of teaching the player to collect coins and avoid enemies, games could teach players fields like algebra and biology. And even better than that, games could present the information in such a way that the player continues to play because they want to, rather than because they have to. Additionally, there are many students who do not learn well through traditional classroom lectures and worksheets. All too often, these students are dismissed as unteachable, and fail to reach their full potential. While I don't believe that games can or should completely replace traditional classroom teaching techniques, if used in tandem, they could help present the information in different formats and give many students the boost they need to help understand a subject. With these benefits, the potential for these systems is enormous. As I stated before, the field as a whole is still very much in the early stages, but already some pretty incredible things have been developed. Some educators have been building games that will teach students engineering concepts, while others have created lessons to teach students coding through the use of Minecraft. One of my personal favorite examples is a deceptively simple little game called Fold It. Produced by the University of Washington, the game presents the player with an unfolded or improperly folded protein and asks the player to fold it into as stable a shape as possible. This game provides an excellent educational supplement because it turns the complex and abstract subject of protein, tertiary, and quaternary structure into an easily manipulatable tactile object. These are just a few examples, and we've only begun to scratch the surface of what the medium is capable of. If last year's Pokemon Go craze was anything to go on, we've learned that games don't need to stay inside on a desk to be successful. I hope that someday we can have games on multiple platforms that can be used by teachers both inside and outside the classroom. I also believe that Maine has one unique advantage, leaving it primed to be a leader in a whole new paradigm of education. That advantage? The Maine Learning Technology Initiative. Currently, MLTI provides over 80,000 laptops and tablets to schools throughout the state. This solves one of the biggest problems faced by educational games, namely ensuring that your audience has access to the equipment actually needed to play the game. With the knowledge that every student has a computer, teachers can safely integrate the game as part of their curriculum without fear of leaving a student out. Additionally, as most of the computers provided by MLTI are of similar models, development of the software becomes much easier, as instead of devoting time and resources to making sure the game operates on a wide variety of hardware, it can instead be specifically optimized for one system. It is my goal that over the next several years I will be able to make and study the effectiveness of educational games. I already have experience in scientific studies. I've worked in 3 different research labs and have had experience designing and conducting my own experiments, as well as in technical writing. I have experience in C# coding and program design using Unity. It is my hope that this master's program will allow me to continue to develop the technical skills necessary to develop games and the pedagogical knowledge to make these games as entertaining and educational as possible. With this knowledge, I hope to pursue a PhD, where I will work alongside local teachers to develop a game and then experimentally measure its effectiveness as a teaching tool. I have already discussed these tools with several local middle school teachers and have been met with overwhelming support and enthusiasm. If these small-scale studies and pilot projects prove to be successful, I would like to scale the program up and ultimately work alongside MLTI to bring these games statewide. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you will consider me for this master's program.